The fortress stood like a crown against the night sky, its tall windows glowing with candlelight and chandeliers. The annual banquet was the most important night in Kingsridge, a state where humans and shifters lived side by side but never truly trusted each other. Tonight, the nobles were dressed in silks and jewels, their laughter loud, their smiles sharp. Servants scurried through the glittering hall, carrying trays of roasted venison, golden bread, and goblets filled to the brim. Eleanor's hands shook as she balanced the crystal carafe against her tray. She was only 20, and though she had been serving in the palace for over a year, she had never stood so close to the Alpha King himself. Tonight she had been assigned to the high table. Her mind kept whispering the same warning. Don't draw attention. Don't make a mistake. Don't let them see you. At the head of the table sat Alpha King Louis. He was everything the rumors claimed, tall, broad-shouldered, with a face carved from stone. His expression was unreadable, cold as winter, yet every eye in the room followed him. The weight of his authority filled the air. Humans feared him. Shifters respected him. His wolf, they said, was never far from the surface. Eleanor tried not to look directly at him. She fixed her gaze on the goblets, reminding herself to breathe. Her task was simple: refill his wine. Pour, step back, move on. Nothing more. But fate had its own plans. As she reached the king, someone brushed against her elbow. The movement was subtle, almost invisible, but it was deliberate. Lady Celine, draped in silver silk, swept past her with a smile that held too much satisfaction. Eleanor's wrist jolted. The carafe tilted. Wine splashed out in a dark red arc. The hall froze. The music cut. Eleanor's heart slammed in her chest as she watched the wine stain bloom across the Alpha King's crisp white shirt, trailing down the edge of his jaw and dripping onto the floor like blood. "Oh no," she gasped, her voice trembling. Her knees nearly gave out. This was more than clumsy, it was unforgivable. A servant who humiliated the Alpha King in front of nobles and council members would not keep her place. She could lose her work, her shelter, her very life. Guards moved instantly, hands on their weapons. Murmurs rippled like a rising storm. Lady Celine smirked, her eyes glinting with triumph. Eleanor could barely breathe. Then Alpha Louis stood. The room seemed to bend with him. He did not shout. He did not strike. Instead, he inhaled deeply, as if the scent of the spilled wine carried something more than grapes. His golden eyes darkened, flickered, then locked on Eleanor. And in that moment, something ancient snapped into place. Wine. The word rolled through the hall like thunder. It wasn't spoken loudly, but it struck every ear, every heart. Nobles gasped. Servants stumbled back. Eleanor felt her wolf stir inside her for the first time in years, stretching awake as if answering a call it had waited for all its life. Her hands shook violently, the empty carafe slipping to the floor and shattering into 1,000 glittering shards. "Alpha," Elder Whitcomb stammered from the council table, his voice brittle. "Surely this is—" Silence. Louis's voice cut through the hall. He reached out, closing his strong hand around Eleanor's trembling wrist. His grip wasn't cruel, but it was absolute. Heat spread from his touch, confusing and terrifying. Eleanor's lips parted, but words failed her. Fear clawed at her throat. She had spilled wine. She had ruined everything. And yet the Alpha King had claimed her. Lady Celine's pale face flushed with rage, her nails digging into her silk gown. The counselors began whispering, arguments already forming on their tongues. The guests could not decide whether to gape or flee. But none of it mattered. Because in that endless, breathless moment, Eleanor realized her life had changed forever. Not by choice, not by design, but by fate itself. The Alpha King's claim had shattered the order of the kingdom. And she was at the center of it. If this story already has your heart racing, then you won't want to miss what happens next. Subscribe now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a chapter of Eleanor's journey. Chapter 1. The fortress slept, but Eleanor did not. She woke in a room she had never seen before. A wide chamber of polished stone walls, velvet curtains, and a fireplace that still held the ghost of a dying flame. She blinked hard, unsure if she was still dreaming. Her last memory was the sound of the Alpha King's voice, deep and certain, echoing through the banquet hall. Mine. Her heart kicked against her ribs at the thought. Eleanor sat up too quickly. Pain throbbed at her temples. She looked down at herself, the same plain dress she had worn to serve, though now wrinkled and stained with the dark mark of spilled wine. Her hands trembled. She pressed them against the quilted coverlet, trying to steady herself, but nothing could calm the storm inside her. The door creaked. A woman stepped in, tall, mid-40s, with streaks of silver in her dark hair and a calm authority in her movements. She carried a tray with tea and bread. "You fainted after the claim," the woman said, setting the tray on the bedside table. "The king ordered you brought here to the royal wing." Eleanor's breath caught. The claim. She could hardly bring herself to say it. The woman's gaze softened. "I am Dr. Kavya Patel, the royal healer. And yes, child, the Alpha King claimed you before the whole court last night. There will be no taking it back." Eleanor shook her head, her braids sliding loose against her back. "I can't. I'm a servant. I shouldn't even have been near him. I don't deserve." "Deserve?" Dr. Patel interrupted gently. "The mate bond is not about what you think you deserve. It is what is. And right now you are at the center of it." Before Eleanor could reply, a knock sounded. The door opened again. A guard entered, tall and broad-shouldered, with a scar down his cheek and kind brown eyes. He bowed slightly. "His Majesty requests Miss Eleanor in the East Study," he said. His voice was respectful. Too respectful for someone who had been invisible only yesterday. Her legs felt like water, but she nodded. "Yes." The guard, Jonah Ruiz, she heard someone call him, escorted her through halls she had only glimpsed in passing. Oil lamps cast warm light against the walls. Every servant they passed bowed quickly. Nobles lingered in corners, whispering behind gloved hands. Eleanor's ears burned with their words. Servant girl, scandalous, never last. Her pulse hammered louder with each step. At last they reached the East Study. Jonah opened the door and she stepped inside. The room smelled of cedar and rain. Books lined the walls. A wide window overlooked the snow-dusted pines outside. Louis stood at the window, jacket removed, sleeves rolled, his broad shoulders tense. He turned when he heard her and the air shifted. Golden flecks lingered in his dark eyes, the remnants of his wolf. They pinned her where she stood. Eleanor swallowed hard. "Your Majesty." "You're afraid," he said quietly. His voice was low, steady, but there was something raw beneath it. "I can smell it." Her lips parted. "I didn't mean the wine. I never." "I know," he interrupted, surprising her. His gaze flicked to the floor, then back to her. "But someone meant for it to happen. The glass I was meant to drink was poisoned. The scent was wrong. When you spilled the wine, you stopped me from drinking it." Eleanor froze. "Poison?" He nodded once. "You may have saved my life." Her chest tightened. Saved him? She had thought she ruined everything. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I'm no one. I was only trying to keep my job." Louis stepped closer, slow, deliberate. His presence filled the room, heavy with power, yet his voice dropped softer than before. "You are not no one," he said. "When I scented you, there was no question. You're my mate. My Luna." Her breath shook. "But I'm not fit to be Luna. I've never shifted. I have no training. I don't even know how to stand in a council chamber." "Then you will learn," he said simply. "With me. Or without me if that is what you choose." The word choice startled her. No king had ever spoken such a thing to her. Silence stretched between them. She dared lift her gaze to his face. For the first time she saw not the ruthless Alpha King of rumor, but a man, tired, burdened, yet watching her as if she were the only anchor he had. "I will not force you," Lewis said. "But fate has already tied us. Deny it and it will break us both." Eleanor's throat ached. Every part of her wanted to run, to hide, to be small again. Yet something inside her stirred, a tiny spark, a wolf stretching after years of silence. She whispered the only truth she could manage. "I'm afraid." Lewis's jaw tightened. "So am I." The words hung between them, fragile, impossible, real. When Eleanor stepped out of the study moments later, Jonah glanced at her face. He offered no questions, only a quiet nod as though he already understood. Behind her in the study, Lewis stood by the window once more, staring out at the falling snow. His hands were clenched, his wolf restless. Claiming a servant had already sparked scandal. The council would rage. Celine would scheme. Rivals would circle. But none of it mattered. For the first time in years, Lewis's wolf was calm. Because his mate was alive and fate had set her in his path. And no matter the cost, he would not let her go. Chapter 2. By mid-morning, the fortress hummed with whispers. Wherever Eleanor walked, eyes followed. Servants peeked from doorways, guards stiffened as she passed, and nobles paused mid-sentence. Her cheeks burned, she wished she could vanish. Jonah led her through towering corridors until they reached carved oak doors etched with wolves and pine. The council chamber. Eleanor's stomach knotted. "Do I have to go in?" she whispered. "You won't be on display," Jonah murmured. "There's a screen. Just listen." Inside, the chamber stretched wide, torches flickering against stone. Jonah guided her behind a silk screen at the back. From there she glimpsed the edge of the dais and the Alpha King seated in the center, his posture like iron. Elder Whitcomb's cane tapped. "We convene under the laws of Kingsridge to discuss a reckless claim. A servant, elevated to Luna without proof of lineage." Lewis's voice rumbled. "The moon was my witness." Dr. Patel rose. "Let us not forget, poison was found in the Alpha's wine. The servant's spill saved his life." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Whitcomb sneered. "Or placed there by her hand?" "If she had," Patel said sharply, "we would be burying a king." A sweet voice drifted across the room. "Lady Celine. We all want His Majesty's safety. But crowning a kitchen girl? Stability depends on tradition. Humans doubt us already. What message do we send?" Aunt Maris Hale, the Alpha's aunt, stepped forward, her braids streaked with gray. "The moon chooses strength, not silk. Kingsridge has survived worse than a noble's hurt pride." Celine's smile thinned. "And yet this girl is 20, unshifted. Perhaps she has no wolf at all." Eleanor flinched, heart hammering. Her wolf stirred faintly, then sank back into silence. Lewis's voice cut through. "Do not speak of her as if she isn't here." The room fell still. Whitcomb cleared his throat. "The law allows a trial period. 3 weeks. She may learn, she may fail. Then this council will advise release." Lewis's hand tightened on the arm of his chair. "I will not break a bond the moon set." Celine's tone turned sharp. "If the pack's rebel, if humans call you reckless, then we fight," Lewis said simply. The council shifted uncomfortably. Finally, a younger counselor offered a moon trial. "She trains with Aunt Maris, observes court, mediates disputes. If she can endure, she may stand as Luna." Whitcomb's cane struck. "Agreed." Lewis rose, voice steady. "The bond will be sealed only with her consent. If she chooses me, I will not let this council unchoose us." The words hit Eleanor like sunlight through clouds. In this cold hall, that mattered more than anything. When the session ended, Jonah led her out. Lewis waited at the foot of the dais, eyes fixed on her. "You heard," he said. 3 weeks, she whispered. 3 weeks, he agreed. "With Maris. With me if you want. Without me if you don't." Aunt Maris appeared, smelling of pine. She studied Eleanor like a trail in snow. Do you run toward trouble or away? I've run my whole life, Eleanor admitted. I'm tired. Good, Maris said. Running and standing use the same muscles. We'll teach them a new job. Tomorrow dawn. Later, back in her quarters, Eleanor closed the door and leaned against it, exhausted. On the floor beneath the threshold lay a folded note. No seal, no name, just 4 words in a neat hand. You do not belong. Her chest ached. She pressed the paper flat on her palm, then set it beside her teacup. Maybe I don't, she whispered. Yet. Outside, snow drifted past the windows. Inside, a choice settled in her heart. 3 weeks. He would endure them all. Chapter 3. Dawn painted the fortress walls pale gold when Eleanor met Aunt Maris at the side gate. The older woman handed her a biscuit. Eat. You can't stand on an empty stomach. They climbed the ridge behind the palace. Wind pressed Eleanor's coat tight as Maris showed her the first lesson. Stand. Feet under hips, chin level. Not soft, not hard. Present. Eleanor copied her. At first it felt silly, until her back straightened and something inside steadied. Second lesson, Maris said. Listen. To weather, to people, to the part of you that knows before you do. Eleanor closed her eyes. Cold air brushed her cheeks, a hawk circled high, and far below a truck rumbled on Highway 3. Deeper still she felt a warm shift, her wolf stirring. Her breath caught. Good, Maris murmured. Let her roll over. Don't force her. As they walked down, Eleanor nearly tripped on a rope strung low across the path. Maris cut it with her knife and pocketed it. Sabotage. We'll collect what they leave. By mid-morning they entered town. Humans and shifters filled the market with voices and steam. At a corner 2 women argued. Tessa the human shopkeeper and Carla from the West Side pack. It's the noise. Tessa snapped. Because your driver blocks the lane. Carla shot back. Eleanor stepped forward. I'm Eleanor. Can I help? They bristled but answered. She asked small questions, drew a map on a paper bag. 9 p.m. cutoff for trucks. Morning deliveries through the alley. Try this for a week. A beat of silence. Then both muttered, fine. It wasn't thanks, but something eased in Eleanor's chest. Later at Hale House, Maris showed her a wall of cards pinned under the word needs. Eleanor added one. Evening childcare. Palace staff. Ask for Eleanor. On the walk back, Jonah met them at the gate holding a wax packet. Wolfsbane. Found near the ridge. His face was grim. Maris only said, someone's eager. Back in her quarters, Eleanor found another folded note slid under her door. You do not belong. Leave before the full moon. Her hand shook as she placed it flat in a drawer. That afternoon she sat in court behind Maris while Louis listened to disputes. He never looked at Eleanor, yet she felt him see her anyway. His stillness, the tilt of his head when someone lied, she memorized it. A sealed envelope arrived for him mid-session. He read it, passed it to Jonah, who left at a near run. Eleanor caught the flicker of tension in Louis's jaw but said nothing. Evening brought a small dinner in the East study. 2 plates, 1 folder. Louis slid food toward her. Eat, he said quietly. They ate in silence before he opened the folder. The council set your moon trial. Markets, mediation, court sessions. You'll do some of it alone. Alone. Eleanor's stomach dropped. Not unguarded, Louis said. But I won't be in the room. She nodded, gripping her fork. Then told him of the ropes and wolfsbane. His gaze went cold. We'll find who's behind it. Something softened in her. Your aunt says running and standing use the same muscles. I've only used one. Use the other, he said. His eyes warmed, but he looked away before it could burn too bright. I won't rush you. When she returned to her chamber, a second note waited. Same neat hand. Full moon. River gate. One chance to save him. Come alone. Her chest tightened. Who is him? A trap or a warning? He carried it straight to Jonah. He read it twice and said, "They'll use kindness against you. Don't go alone." "I won't," Eleanor whispered, though her wolf stirred restlessly at the window. Far off, a hollow howl echoed, "Wrong, not of Kingsridge." The sound raised every hair on her arms. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow she would not run. Would you have the courage to stand in Eleanor's place, facing nobles who wanted her gone? If you believe she deserves to be Luna, tell me in the comments. And don't forget to follow this story so you never miss what happens next. Chapter 4. Snow thinned to a bright mist by morning. Eleanor met Aunt Maris at the side gate, boots tight, scarf tucked. Jonah waited with 2 guards, quiet as stone. "Today we don't climb," Maris said. "We go through. Let the city teach." They took the east route past the mills. Eleanor kept her stance. Feet under hips, chin level, palms easy. The stance lent her time until bravery came. First stop, the transit lot. 2 drivers argued about a route that sent shifter kids across a busy road. Eleanor listened. "Slow at the crosswalk when school lets out," she said, "and move the stop 1 block to the light. A guard walks the kids the first week." Jonah nodded. The drivers grumbled, then agreed. No one thanked her, but the knot in her chest loosened. On Market Street, a man in a new coat watched from an alley, silver serpent pin catching light. Jonah drifted to block the view without ever looking his way. The man melted back into shadow. At noon, the moon trial set piece began. A mediation without alpha. 2 families, 1 human, 1 shifter, both claimed the same garage after a flood moved the fence. The council's maps were old. Maris waited outside. Jonah guarded the stairs. Inside, the room was narrow. "We've had the lease 8 years, Mr. Avery said, palms flat. "My kids work there." "We fixed the roof and paid for the door," said Naya Ortiz from Red Willow. "We have receipts." Eleanor kept her stance. She drew the lot by hand, marked the flood path, the old fence, the scuffed gravel. "Try this," she said. "Avery keeps the lease, the garage shares ours. Mornings to Red Willow for work, afternoons to Avery's for the kids. Red Willow gets a rent credit for the roof. If the owner refuses, the palace hosts a clinic to replace lost hours." Silence, then a breath. Mr. Avery rubbed his face. Naya's shoulders lowered. "We can try," they said almost together. They signed and left. Maris squeezed her shoulder. "You didn't ask the moon to lower a star," she said. "You asked 2 people to build a bridge. That holds." Court followed. The downstate governor appeared by video, careful words. Lady Celine stood at his elbow. "Markets dislike drama," the governor said. "I offer support for an official pairing with Lady Celine to calm investors." Eleanor's face went cold. Across the chamber, Louis did not move. "I will not trade a mate for a ledger," he said. "Kingsridge fights for its own." After Celine met Eleanor at the stairs. "Brave girl," she whispered. "The full moon will be hard. There are rituals you do not know." "I'm learning," Eleanor said. Celine's smile sharpened. "Some bonds bruise a city before they heal. Some never do." Jonah stepped between them and Celine walked on. Twilight darkened the river. Eleanor watched eddies take the snow. A note in her drawer, full moon. River gate. 1 chance to save him. Come alone. Who is he? The thought stole air. She took the note to Jonah. "A trap," he said. "We set eyes at the gate and a decoy path." "What if it isn't a trap?" she asked. "What if someone bleeds while we are clever? Then we get there first." Night fell. In the hour before dawn, a wrong howl came again, thin, hollow, not of Kingsridge. Eleanor's wolf woke hard and did not sleep. Before moonrise, Maris led her to a circular room floored with river stones. "The Luna chamber," Maris said. "When the pull is too strong, breathe here. The stone remembers women who learned how to hold and not break." Eleanor paced the circle once, twice. The weight in the room steadied her. Louis waited at the threshold. He didn't cross. How was the mediation? I didn't fail, she said, and then helplessly, I wanted you there. His eyes warmed. I wanted to be. They stood with the circle between them like a river. Tomorrow the trial shifts, he said. Trade table. West Gate. When the moon climbs, you'll choose where to stand. Eleanor thought of the shelter, the garage, the pin, the wrong howl, the note, the stone. I'll stand where the city needs, she said. Good, Maris said. Then eat. Then sleep. Later, alone, Eleanor touched the note and left it. If it was bait, she would not bite. If it was a warning, she would not go alone. The city slept. The moon lifted. Somewhere on the north road, a wrong howl rose. Eleanor listened until the sound became part of her map. When she slept, she dreamed of bridges, not ropes. Tomorrow she would not only borrow time. She would spend it. Chapter 5. The next day broke gray and restless. Eleanor's boots echoed down the fortress corridor as she followed Aunt Maris toward the trade hall. Jonah lingered close, watchful, while guards shifted in pairs. The moon trial pressed forward, one test at a time. Inside, long tables stretched beneath iron chandeliers. Human merchants in stiff suits and shifter envoys in worn leather eyed each other with suspicion. Stacks of ledgers and crates of fabric crowded the walls. This session sets prices for winter lumber, Maris whispered. Humans want cheap timber. Shifters want fair wage. If you can keep them from tearing at each other, you're worth 10 council decrees. Eleanor nodded, nerves buzzing. She stayed near the end of the table listening. A merchant named Branson slammed a palm on his ledger. We can't pay pack wages when mills are closing. Across from him, a shifter foreman growled. Your machines eat our forest. Pay fair or we walk. The tension sharpened like a blade. Eleanor lifted her hand. Her voice came steady, though her heart raced. What if the pack supplies cut timber only up to the ridge line, leaving the high forest untouched? The mills still get wood, but the packs keep hunting ground. Eyes turned to her. Pause. The foreman tilted his head. And wages? Eleanor swallowed. Split. A lower rate now, but a binding promise of higher pay once mills recover. Written. Signed by both. Branson hesitated, chewing his cheek. You'd bind the alpha to that? All eyes shifted to Lewis at the head of the table. He leaned back, unreadable, then nodded once. Put it to parchment. The foreman grunted and Branson muttered, Fine. Quills scratched. The fight eased. Eleanor exhaled slowly. Later, as they left the hall, Celine's voice slid through the corridor like oil. Clever, she said, stepping into view. Her gown shimmered pale blue, her smile practiced. But clever girls burn fast. Jonah tensed, but Eleanor kept her spine straight. I only offered what both already wanted, she said. Celine's eyes narrowed. Do you think tradition bends for kitchen girls? She leaned close enough that her perfume stung. Full moon comes, and when it does, bonds cut sharper than knives. You'll bleed before you belong. Before Eleanor could answer, Lewis appeared, his presence filling the hall. Lady Celine, he said, tone cold. You mistake the trial for a stage. Her smile returned, but thinner. I only worry for our alpha. The bond pulls him toward ruin. She dipped a graceful bow and swept away, skirts whispering against stone. Eleanor's chest tightened. Doubt coiled in her ribs. Was she truly strong enough? That night she lay awake, the city's hum echoing through stone walls. Then came a sound that froze her blood. A hollow howl far beyond the gate, wrong and jagged. Her wolf stirred hard, pressing against her chest like it wanted out. Jonah pounded on her door. You hear it? He asked. Yes. He looked grim. That isn't ours. Rival packs are moving. And someone's guiding them. Eleanor's heart raced. Celine. Or worse, Jonah said. A rival alpha who smells weakness. Through her window, Eleanor saw the moon caught in ragged clouds. Her trial was no longer a test of words or stance. It was about survival. She touched the threatening note still hidden in her drawer. One chance to save him. Her wolf growled low and she finally understood. The city wasn't the only thing being hunted. Tomorrow the trial would pit her heart against the shadows beyond Kingsridge. And she wasn't sure which was more dangerous. The council watching her stumble or the unseen alpha who wanted her downfall. Chapter 6. The night pressed heavy over Kingsridge, clouds choking the moon. Eleanor stood at her window, the second note still folded in her palm. Full moon. Rivergate. One chance to save him. The words gnawed at her, sharper than hunger. She dressed quietly and slipped into the corridor. Jonah leaned against the wall, arms folded. You thought I'd let you go alone? She sighed, caught. If it's a trap, we should spring it. He nodded once. Then let's set the terms. They crossed the lower halls, past storerooms and servant doors, until the fortress walls gave way to riverbank. The gate loomed, iron and frost-bitten, lanterns flickering along its edge. Beyond, the dark current dragged broken ice downstream. First nothing. Then movement. Two cloaked figures stepped from shadow. One held a torch, the other a limp shape over his shoulder. Eleanor's stomach lurched. The shape was small, a child bound at the wrists. Help, the child cried weakly. Jonah stiffened. It's bait. I know, Eleanor whispered. Her wolf pressed hard, snarling inside her. The taller figure raised his hood. Pale eyes gleamed, inhuman. The alpha's toy, he said, voice gravel and venom. Come closer, girl. Prove you care for more than your throne. Eleanor's pulse thundered. This was no petty noble. This was a rival alpha. What do you want? She called, forcing her voice steady. Proof, he hissed. That Lewis is weak. That his Luna kneels. He shoved the child forward, dangling above the icy water. Eleanor took a step, then stopped. Her wolf screamed at her to move, but Maris's lessons echoed. Stand. Don't break. Jonah's hand brushed hers, grounding her. He wants you desperate, he murmured. He wants you to forget the pack behind you. Eleanor drew a breath, deep and slow. If you want to test me, she said, raising her chin, then face me. Not a child. The rival alpha laughed, harsh and wild. Brave words from a servant girl. Do you think the council will follow you? Do you think Lewis will bleed for you? A shadow moved on the ridge above. The outline of Lewis, tall and burning with controlled fury. His wolf surged so near the surface Eleanor felt it in her bones. Release him, Lewis growled, voice like iron. The rival sneered. Or what? You'll claim a kitchen girl as queen? You've already shamed yourself. In a blur, Jonah signaled. Hidden guards sprang from the brush, arrows notched, blades drawn. The rival alpha snarled, shoving the child into the river. Eleanor moved before thought, boots pounding across the frost. She dove, water burning like knives. Her fingers caught the child's cloak, hauling him upward as current clawed them both. Strong arms seized her from behind, Lewis pulling them ashore. The boy coughed hard, alive. Eleanor collapsed, shivering, hair plastered to her face. The rival alpha roared as guards dragged him down. His torch rolled into the mud, sputtering. This isn't over, he spat. The moon will choose and it won't be her. Lewis's eyes burned gold, his wolf a storm. The moon already chose, he said, voice low and final. The rival was hauled away in chains. The boy sobbed into Eleanor's shoulder, clutching her with small, desperate hands. For the first time, the fortress guards didn't look at her as a servant or a scandal. They looked at her as Luna. Later, alone in her chamber, Eleanor wrung river water from her sleeves. Her body trembled, but inside, something steadied. The moon trial was no longer whispers in court. It was survival in the dark. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of standing in the light. Chapter 7. The rival alpha's capture should have steadied the kingdom. Instead, it set Kingsridge on edge. By morning, every corridor buzzed with rumor. Some said the boy Eleanor saved had been planted by Celine. Others claimed Lewis staged the ambush to force the council's hand. Eleanor felt their eyes wherever she went, curious, doubtful, accusing. Her wet hair from the river had barely dried when Jonah appeared at her door. "Council summons," he said. "Yow." The chamber was already full when she entered with Maris at her side. Nobles leaned close, whispering behind gloved hands. Elder Whitcomb tapped his cane, frown sharp enough to cut stone. "We gather because last night's chaos cannot be ignored," he began. "A rival alpha infiltrated our city. A child was nearly drowned. And all because this girl," his cane pointed toward Eleanor, "draws fire we cannot control." Celine's voice slid sweetly into the silence. "The council must ask, does a kitchen-born Luna strengthen us or make us prey?" The room stirred. Eleanor's throat tightened. She stood straighter anyway. Lewis rose from the central chair, broad shoulders commanding the room. "Enough," he said. "A rival tested our walls and we answered. Eleanor saved a life. She stood in the river when others only watched. If you call that weakness, then you mistake the meaning of Luna." Murmurs rippled, but Celine pressed on, eyes glittering. "Strength is not one night's theatrics. What happens when another rival comes? Or when humans refuse to bow to a servant queen? Will you burn the state for a girl who does not even shift?" Heat flamed in Eleanor's chest. Her wolf rolled under her skin, restless. She took a step forward before she realized she'd moved. "I may not have shifted," she said, voice trembling but clear, "but I bleed for this pack as much as any who stand here. Last night I didn't weigh lineage or wages. I saw a child in the water and I chose to move. If that makes me unworthy, then perhaps your worth is the one in question." The chamber went still. A guard coughed to cover his surprise. Maris's eyes gleamed with pride. Lewis's wolf pressed so close Eleanor felt it thrumming in her ribs. Celine's lips curled into a smile that did not reach her eyes. Bold words. But boldness does not crown a Luna. The full moon rises soon. Bonds sealed under its light cannot be undone. If she fails, you doom us all. Whitcomb's cane struck the floor. "Then let the trial finish. At the full moon we will see if the bond holds or breaks." Lewis's voice rumbled low. "It will hold." Eleanor stood silent, her heart a storm. She had spoken before nobles, she had faced Celine's poisoned smile, and still the council hungered for her fall. But something inside had shifted, like the first crack of light after a long night. When the session ended, she walked out taller than she went in. Jonah caught up, shaking his head. "You realize half that room wanted you gone?" "I know," she said softly. "And for the first time I don't care." But that night, as she lay in her chamber, another note slid beneath her door. The same neat hand, the same cold warning. "When the full moon rises, blood will decide." Eleanor closed her fist around it, her wolf pacing inside her like fire contained. The trial was no longer about belonging. It was about survival, and claiming the place fate had set at her feet. Chapter 8. Snow fell hard the next morning, muffling the city in white. Eleanor woke with the latest note still clenched in her fist. "When the full moon rises, blood will decide." The words seemed to throb against her palm. She slipped it into her drawer and dressed quickly, heart heavy with dread. Maris met her in the corridor. "Today you face the people without council walls between you," she said. "They must see you stand." The marketplace was crowded despite the storm. Stalls steamed with roasted chestnuts and coffee. Children kicked snow, merchants shouted prices. But when Eleanor stepped forward with Maris, a hush rolled through the square. "She's the servant," someone whispered. "The one the Alpha claimed." "She brought a child from the river," another said. Eleanor lifted her chin, remembering the stance Maris had drilled into her. Not soft. Not hard. Present. A butcher complained about taxes. A human teacher worried the pack school stole resources from her own. Eleanor listened, asked questions, offered small promises. She felt the stares on her back, sharp as knives, but she kept speaking. Then Celine appeared at the fountain, wrapped in silver furs, her voice carrying. "Kingsridge deserves a Luna born to rule," she declared. "Not a girl who spills wine and invites danger." Murmurs spread, brittle as ice cracking. Eleanor's hands trembled. Before she could speak, a boy darted from the crowd. It was the same child she had pulled from the river. He clutched her coat with small fists. "She saved me," he said, voice breaking. "She's not weak." The marketplace stilled. Eleanor knelt, brushing snow from his hair. "Thank you," she whispered. Celine's smile froze, then cracked. She turned sharply and swept away, fury hidden beneath velvet. That evening, Louis summoned Eleanor to the Luna chamber. The stone floor glowed faintly in candlelight. He studied her, gaze burning. "You stood today," he said. "I almost fell," she admitted. "But you didn't." He stepped closer, voice low. "The bond pulls at me, Eleanor. My wolf howls for you. But if this isn't your choice, tell me now before the moon seals us." Her heart thundered. "I don't know if I can be what they want." "I don't want what they want," he said, fierceness in his tone. "I want you." The air between them tightened. For a heartbeat she almost answered, but the memory of the note clawed her back. "Blood will decide." Before she could speak, Jonah burst in, face grim. "Patrol found signs near the West Woods. Tracks large. Not ours. Rival packs moving closer." Louis's jaw clenched. "They'll strike at the full moon." Eleanor's wolf pressed hard against her ribs, restless, near breaking free. For the first time she didn't push it down. She let it pace inside her, teeth bared, ready. The trial was nearing its end. The city doubted, the council schemed, Celine plotted, and rivals closed in. But as she stood in the Luna chamber, Louis's eyes locked on hers, Eleanor knew one thing. When the full moon rose, she would not run. She would fight, whether her wolf woke or not. Every choice Eleanor makes pulls her closer to fate, or to ruin. Do you think the council is right, or is love stronger than tradition? Let me know your answer, and remember to subscribe so you'll see how the moon decides. Chapter 9. The full moon drew closer with every breath. Kingsridge felt like a drum tightening, streets restless, guards on edge, the council whispering behind closed doors. Eleanor spent the morning in training, Maris drilling her on posture and words. "When the moon climbs, all eyes will be on you," the elder said. "They'll look for weakness. Give them only truth." But truth pressed heavy. Each night Eleanor woke to the echo of that rival alpha's laugh. "Blood will decide." Each morning brought new rumors. Celine promising nobles that Eleanor would fail, elders muttering about tradition. Even the servants she once worked beside kept their distance, unsure whether to bow or avoid her. That afternoon the fortress bells tolled. The council summoned everyone to the grand hall. Eleanor's heart pounded as she entered with Louis at her side. Chandeliers blazed, banners rippled, nobles filled every seat. At the dais, Elder Whitcomb raised his cane. "The moon trial nears its end," he announced. "Tonight, beneath the full moon, the alpha may seal his bond, or release it." Whispers surged. "Release." The word felt like a blade against Eleanor's skin. Celine stepped forward, silver gown shimmering. Before the pack accepts a Luna, she must prove she can stand at the alpha's side. This girl has faced markets and mediations, yes. But what is that compared to blood? Let the moon judge with fire. Murmurs of agreement rose. Louis's wolf stirred visibly in his eyes. "You forget yourself, Celine," he said coldly. "This bond is mine." "Yours, yes," she purred. "But not the pack's." The council chamber strained with tension. Then Maris's voice cut through. "Enough games. Tonight the moon will rise and Kingsridge will see what is written. Until then, save your poison." The elders adjourned. But as the crowd spilled out, a messenger pressed a parchment into Eleanor's hand. She unfolded it in the corridor, heart stuttering. At moonrise meet me by the west wall. If you want Lewis to live. Her breath caught. Jonah saw her face pale and pulled the note from her fingers. His jaw tightened. They're moving tonight. They'll strike during the ritual, Eleanor whispered. Lewis stepped closer, eyes blazing. What note? Jonah hesitated, then handed it over. Lewis read, fury flashing across his face. They'll not touch me. Or you. But Eleanor felt her wolf push hard against her ribs, restless, urgent. She remembered the child in the river, the rival alpha's sneer. Tonight wasn't only about the bond. It was about survival. For Lewis, for Kingsridge, for her. When darkness fell, torches lit the fortress grounds. The pack gathered in the courtyard, breath rising white in the cold. Above, the moon pushed through ragged clouds, huge and merciless. Lewis took Eleanor's hand, his grip strong, steady. When I claim you, the bond will burn through every doubt. But only if you want it. Her voice shook, but her spine held straight. I want it. A howl cut the night, long, wrong, echoing from the west wall. The crowd gasped, guards tensed, and Eleanor's wolf slammed awake inside her with a force that bent her knees. The trial was over. The true fight had begun. Chapter 10. The howl from the west wall tore through Kingsridge like a knife. Guards surged toward the battlements, torches flaring. Eleanor's breath caught as her wolf pressed hard inside her chest, more awake than ever before. The courtyard froze between two moments, ritual and war. Lewis stepped in front of her, voice low but carrying. Stay close. His eyes glowed amber, his wolf clawing to be free. The rival alpha appeared on the wall, cloak whipping in the wind. Behind him shadows moved, his pack larger than expected. Their snarls carried down into the courtyard, rattling windows. Whitcomb's cane struck stone. The trial cannot continue under siege, he barked. Then this is the trial, Maris snapped back. Celine glided from the crowd, face alight with false sorrow. Perhaps the moon has given us an answer already, she said sweetly. A low-born Luna invites only chaos. Lewis's growl rolled like thunder. Touch her and you'll see chaos. The rival alpha leapt from the wall, landing in the courtyard with inhuman grace. His eyes locked on Eleanor. She weakens you, Lewis. Give her up and Kingsridge may stand. Every muscle in her body screamed to run. But she remembered Maris's words. Stand. Don't break. Eleanor stepped forward, snow crunching under her boots. If you want me, she said, voice trembling but clear, then face me, not him. A murmur ran through the crowd. The rival alpha sneered, circling her. You can't even shift. Her wolf pressed harder, aching, burning. Eleanor closed her eyes. Come, she whispered inwardly. Come now. The bond between her and Lewis flared, hot as fire. His wolf roared inside him, answering hers. Their eyes met, gold to silver, and something snapped free. Pain racked her body, sharp and searing. She gasped, falling to her knees. Bones shifted, skin tore, fur sprouted silver-white under the moonlight. The crowd gasped as Eleanor's wolf rose for the first time, smaller than Lewis's but fierce, radiant, and new. The rival alpha lunged. She met him midair, teeth flashing, a growl ripping from her throat. They collided in snow and blood, her new wolf instincts carrying her where fear could not. Lewis's wolf joined, massive and burning gold, fighting at her side. Guards clashed with rival wolves, steel and fang mixing in chaos. Celine tried to slip away in the frenzy, but Maris's hand caught her wrist like iron. You watch what you built, Maris hissed. The battle raged until Eleanor sank her teeth into the rival alpha's throat. Blood sprayed hot against the snow. His body collapsed still. The courtyard fell silent. He staggered, chest heaving, wolf form shaking. Lewis pressed against her side, steadying her until she shifted back, trembling and raw, cloak thrown over her shoulders. The crowd stared, stunned. Whitcomb's cane dropped to the ground. Lewis lifted her hand high. The moon has spoken, he said. His voice carried like fire. She is Luna. She is mine. The pack roared, the sound rolling across Kingsridge like thunder. For the first time, Eleanor did not feel small. She felt endless. And though blood stained the snow, the moon above burned bright with promise. The book. The storm passed, leaving Kingsridge wrapped in snow and silence. Dawn light spilled over the fortress, soft and golden, touching every roof and pine as though the city itself were exhaling after a long night. Eleanor stood on the balcony outside the Luna chamber, cloak wrapped tight, the cold nipping her skin. Below, the courtyard still bore the marks of battle. Broken stone, scattered torches, blood frozen into dark stains. Yet the air felt different. Not heavy with fear but steady with belonging. Her wolf stirred quietly inside her, no longer restless, no longer silent. For the first time in her life she was not empty. She was whole. Behind her, Lewis stepped out, his presence filling the air as it always did. His hand brushed her shoulder, grounding her. "The council will meet again today," he said. "Some will try to twist what happened." Eleanor turned to him, meeting his gaze. "And we'll face them. Together." Something softened in his eyes, a rare warmth that cut through the Alpha's steel. "You saved a child. You faced Celine. You stood against a rival Alpha and found your wolf. You've done more in weeks than some do in years. They can't unsee that." Below them, villagers and pack members gathered at the gates. Some bowed their heads, others simply looked up, faces open with something she hadn't seen before: respect. A few even smiled. Maris joined them on the balcony, braid pulled back, eyes sharp. "The trial is over," she said. "But trials never really end. Wolves will test you. Humans will doubt you. Celine will scheme again. But you've proven what matters most." Eleanor looked over the city, the mountains beyond, the river still running beneath ice. Her voice was soft, but it carried. "That I belong." Lewis's fingers laced with hers. "That you are mine," he said. Then after a beat, "And I am yours." The words struck deeper than any claim before. The mate bond burned steady now, not like fire consuming but like flame warming against the cold. Eleanor breathed deep, the air sharp and sweet. Once she had been a servant girl, invisible, afraid to even dream of more. Now she stood as Luna beside the Alpha King. Not because tradition demanded it, but because choice had carried her here. The moon had tested her. Blood had marked her. And dawn crowned her. Kingsridge would never be the same. And neither would she. If this journey kept you at the edge of your seat, don't leave yet. Subscribe now and join me for the next story where fate, love, and danger collide once again.